In this video, we're going to walk you through the mechanics of programming in the Max environment inside Ableton Live. In Max for Live, we work with devices. A device is like a plugin in Live, except that we can edit it and change how it works. The first thing you do when you want to create a Max for Live device is decide what kind of device you want to make. There are 3 different kinds of devices in Max for Live. An audio device has 2 audio inputs and 2 audio outputs and lives on an audio track or after a synth in a MIDI track. An instrument has a MIDI input and 2 audio outputs and lives on a MIDI track. A MIDI effect has a MIDI input and a MIDI output and lives in front of a synth in a MIDI track. When you start making a device, you drag the default version of each device type into its place in your live set. Navigate down to Max for Live in the left-hand side Browse column in Live. Here's the default audio device. To begin editing it, we drag it into an audio channel. We drag an instrument into a MIDI channel and a MIDI effect into a MIDI channel. Once our device is in place, we can begin to edit it. Let's look at the title bar of our audio effects device. This button here is called the Edit button. When you click on it, the device will be opened up in the Max for Live editor. Now we can start to do some programming. Max is a graphical programming language. That means instead of writing lines of computer code, we create our programs using graphical elements which we connect together to create functionality. The basic building block of a Max for Live device is called an object. There are hundreds of different objects in the Max programming language. If you double-click in a blank part of your device, the Object Explorer will open. You can look around in here and see all of the objects which you may use in your devices. Click on the UI Objects tab and scroll down to the Live section. Here you will see all of the UI Live objects available in Max. You can select objects in the Explorer and drag them into your device to use them. Another way to create new objects is to have your mouse inside the device window and hit the letter N on your keyboard. This makes a blank object box and we can type the name of the object into it. Inside our new object, let's start typing P, R. You can see Max's auto completion searching for matches in the full object set. We want to make a print object, so we can keep typing print, or as soon as you see the print object mentioned, we can just click on it. Now click outside the object box and you will see the object get created. Hold your mouse above the print object and hit the letter M. This will create the message object for you. The message object is a UI object in Max. You can type in it and it will display the text you type. Let's type "Hello World." Now click outside of the message box and you will see it get created. Objects communicate with each other in Max via patch cords. Patch cords are like wires which carry information from one object to another. If I click the outlet on the bottom of the message object, I can drag a patch cord to the inlet on the top of the print object and you can see a patch cord get created. Now that I have created some Max code, I would like to see it in action. Currently this device is in edit mode. I can move objects around in my patch and edit them. To use the code that I have created, I need to lock the device. I can lock a Max Patcher or Max for Live device with this button on the bottom of the window. Let's lock this device. Now you can operate the code you have made. Double-click on the print object so that Max's status window is visible. Click on the message object with the "Hello World" text in it. You will see that the text gets transmitted out of the message object along the patch cord to the print object, which prints the text in the Max window. Now let's make some more user interface objects. Unlock the patch. Type the letter I to get an integer number box. Type it again to get another, and connect them with the patch cord. Lock the patch. Now you can see that clicking on the top number box and dragging up or down on the mouse causes it to output its value along the patch cord to the next number box. Type N and let's make a random object. Type random 127 into the object box. When you click on a patch cord in an unlocked patch, green and red diamonds appear at each end of the patch cord. These are handles, and clicking on them will allow you to drag the patch cord to other inlets or outlets. Unhook the patch cord from one of your number boxes and hook it up to the outlet of the random object. Now above the random object, hit the letter B. This makes a button object. Hook the button up to the random object and lock the patcher using the button in the toolbar. What's happening here is that when you click on the button object, it sends a special message called a bang to the random object, which tells it to do something. The random object then generates a random number between 0 and 126. These objects are passing messages between each other along patch cords. Other types of objects in the Max programming language send different types of data. You can see in our device here we have a plug-in tilde object. This object passes audio signals to the device from the live channel. It sends audio out along audio patch cords. Let's connect it to another audio object. The audio object we're going to use is part of a set of live objects, which were specifically built for use in Max for Live. Type L and then type gain tilde. This object is a UI object which displays and controls audio levels in a Max for Live device. We can unhook these audio patch cords, which are joining this device's input to its output, and feed the audio from the channel into the live.gain tilde device by selecting the patch cord and grabbing the red diamond handler. If you have audio running in your live channel, you will see the meters light up. Now we can make two more patch cords to connect the output of the live.gain tilde to the inputs of the plug-out tilde object in our device using the two left outlets of live.gain tilde. The two leftmost outlets of live.gain tilde are the left and the right audio channel outputs. The other three are the values of the actual live.gain tilde slider and not the actual audio. In this case, it's the audio that we want to route from the live.gain tilde outlets. Lock the device, and we have made it into a volume control. Now let's save it. Call it My Big Slider. Let's work on the interface that we will see in live. A Max for Live device has a presentation mode so that you can control the way your device looks inside live. In the device we are editing, select the object or objects you wish to see in your device. Right-click on Windows or Control-click on Mac and you will see the object's contextual menu. Now choose Add to Presentation from this menu. Now we can switch between editing and presentation modes using the button here on the toolbar of the device. See how the objects can have different positions in presentation mode? Let's move the object to where we would like to see it in our device. Now control-click or right-click in a blank part of the patcher to get the device's contextual menu. Select Patch Inspector from this menu and check the box for Open in Presentation and resave the device. When we select Open in Presentation, each time we load our device, it will display in presentation mode by default. Also, while we are editing, we get this borderline here which shows us the viewable area we get when the device is loaded in live. Now you can see what your Max for Live device looks like at home in live alongside other devices and plugins. Let's reopen the device in edit mode. Control-click or right-click on the live.gain tilde object to see its inspector. All objects in Max for Live have an inspector, and you can use this inspector to make changes to the object. Let's change the name of this object to something more useful. See how the object now has a striped look? This object appears as a parameter in the live set. Now that you have modified, the name of it needs to be reloaded by resaving the device. As another example of using the object inspector, let's look at the inspector for one of our number boxes. Here I can change the way it displays. I can make it display MIDI notes instead of numbers. All Max objects have help files. From an object's contextual menu, you can select the help file for that object and it will open up. An object's help file gives examples of how an object works. Help files are made of Max code so that you can unlock them and use bits of them in your own programming. Let's open the help files for some of these other objects to see what they do. You can find more detailed information about an object from its reference page, which you can access via the question mark tab in the help file. Let's take a look at our finished device in Live. Notice that the live.gain tilde object is immediately available to Live's MIDI and key mapping. This should be enough to get you started on the rest of the Programming Max for Live series.